This is awesome. I'm excited to talk to you about your movie, Alex October. By the way, it's very, very good. I really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We worked really hard on it, so it's really nice to hear that people are really responding to it and reacting, how we had hoped that they would when they watched it. So,
Well, before we talk a little bit more about your role in the movie and the aspects of making the film and all that, I want to just ask you real quickly, as someone who is specifically starting out as an actor, you're from Arizona, right? That's correct?
yeah, Carefree,
Yeah.
Arizona.
So when you were growing up in Arizona as a kid, did you have a favorite movie?
I did. I had a few favorite movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I though the one for me that I like, it's still my favorite movie of all time. I could watch that movie 5 million times, and I think there was a year where I literally watched it every day. Is Empire Records?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I remember
it's
that movie.
like a
It's got
very obscure movie
no, and at the very end, Renee Zellweger sings up on top of the
of the
of
sign.
and she does such an awesome job.
I
I
yeah,
love that.
I loved every single character in that movie. I loved
Yeah.
how like they all had their own distinct storyline, but they all like came together. And I just like
Yeah.
I could literally quote that movie from beginning to end because I love it so much.
Yeah. Great film. It's a great film.
Yeah, really good film. I mean, I love like
Yeah.
all. I mean, I was named after Gone with the Wind, so like naturally, like as growing up, I was like, oh, I like Gone with the Wind's my favorite movie because I'm named after the plantation, and
Yeah.
that was a thing. But like, really, the like from the first time I watched Empire Records, I was just like,
Yeah.
I loved it. And I love like Liv Tyler, her breakdown scene because she's taking the diet pills and then her and Renee Zellweger and they're throwing the pills. I was just like, yeah, like I don't know, like as an actor, like that was like one of the things that made me, I was just like, I want to do like cool stuff like that on
Yeah.
camera.
So is that would you say that that's the movie that inspired you to say like I want to be an actor, or did you actually why we wanted to do acting before that you saw that film?
I wanted to do acting before, but I think I had done plays and like my grandma was a big band singer in the 20s growing up in Chicago and stuff. So I was we're very like musical artistic family. My grandpa was a drummer, my brother's a drummer. So it's like we're all like very into like music and entertainment. And so that was something I was always really into. And I started acting really young, around like 8 years old. I started doing commercial work in Arizona. And that was kind of, I think, like the first time I went on set. I was just like, I love this. And so it was something like I definitely really wanted to do right like early on. And then after watching, yeah, like certain movies like that really made me be like, wow, that like is something like you really can do. And like that's something really cool. And like I just started kind of getting ideas of like these are the kind of characters that I would want to play or like the kind of movies I would want to be in. And that's really what kind of like fueled the fire of like an already like seething ember that was just like ready to explode.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this movie, Alex in October. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It
Yeah,
it
thank you.
was beautifully shot, beautifully acted. I think for as much as you can tell as an audience member watching it, I can tell it was directed well as well. I think Josh Hope, is that your director's name? Josh Hope?
Yeah. Josh Hope
Yeah.
was our writer director. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he did a really nice job. And, it's very much a movie that even though what happens in the movie and things like that, it's weird to say this, but it's a little bit relatable. The people seem very real and grounded and life is stranger than fiction. And I thought to myself, this could be plausible. This could really happen somewhere in this crazy country we live in. And so I think in some way we kind of can relate to the characters on some level. If it's not us, it's maybe someone we know or a relative or something. So yeah, I thought that was really good. It didn't feel far fetched or like I don't know anyone who's even remotely like these characters or anything. So I think that was great. I think that's great for the kind of film that it is. So what is the elevator pitch of Alex in October?
Yeah, so yes, good point because everyone's like, what are they talking about? So the movie is about two people. They're it's like it's a generational collide. So we've got these two characters that are both kind of on their own downward mental health spiral of depression in very different places of their lives. And Alex, our our lead male character puts out an online classified ad asking to pay someone $500 to kill him because he can't do it himself. And my character, October, who's going through her own kind of midlife, early 20 crisis, she responds mostly for drug money, but also out of just like kind of curiosity and boredom. And through the connection, she sort of forces herself into his life, and the two of them go on a journey that end up ultimately saving themselves and each other.
I think you did a great job. That's a good pitch right there.
Yeah, thank you.
That was solid. You've practiced that.
You know how many pitch meetings I had to make this movie?
I'm sure.
Indie filmmaking.
Yes, I think if there was one word that encapsulates October's, mindset, it's bored. She's bored a lot. And she even says it multiple times in the film, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, and of course we should mention that Brad Hunt played Alex in the film. Did a really great job, never overplayed it. Very, very grounded, very real. And you guys played off each other very nicely. It was a really nice dynamic. I liked it.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that I've known Brad and I knew him before filming even. So we already had like a built-in, I guess, like trust or relationship as actors going into it, which was really helpful because these two characters obviously like it's almost like a codependent, like very like like from the get-go, like for two strangers that have never met, they immediately sort of get like enmeshed, and you have to have kind of like a strong trust. And the fact that, I mean, the biggest theme in the movie, which I love, that and so far a lot of the, like most of the feedback back that we're getting that people are really responding to, is the fact that it's not romantic, because it could go down that path.
It certainly could. And
there are moments when you think that it might, but we really wanted to keep it. These are two human beings. Like these are two people who just like desperately need each other. And it's just like about the humanity of like just needing another human, and not having any sort of like preconceived notion, especially that like society can put on, like an older, because a lot of these movies do go to like, the older man and the younger woman, and like it's all like, whatever. But we were really, Josh, when he wrote it, was like, I didn't really have an idea, and we took it some places on set, seeing like how things would work, and it just kind of never fit. Like these two people they're not meant to go down that path. It's meant to just be like a true friendship, like true love is really like what the relationship is about. Yeah.
Well, you can certainly see that. It plays out really nicely with the music and the editing and all the creative choices you guys did as a team together to make the final film. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that acting is easy. It certainly isn't. It has its challenges. But let's talk about what I'm going to call the other part of your job, maybe even the harder part of your job, which is the producing part of this. So when do you come on board as a producer on this project?
Yeah, producing definitely for me was the harder part. Because I always say like I was never a producer. Like I don't really consider myself a producer. I sort of just fell into it by necessity because this was a project I just like really wanted to make, and I really wanted to be a part of it. And Josh and I's vision were so in sync. So I met Josh through the film festival circuit, actually, what we were talking about earlier. And he had a feature, his last feature that he was doing the circuit on, and I had a short film that I wrote, direct, produced it, and starred in. And for me, it was, I just really wanted to explore every aspect of filmmaking from beginning to end, because I think it can only help me better as an actor.
Certainly.
And yeah, and so I was just like, I really just want to like from beginning to end, like take a project, I want to write it, like I want to see it all the way through, and feel what that feels like, and experience it, and learn every different hat that everybody does, because I just have so much respect for every single person on set, and I wanted to just like learn everything. So I did a film, and then my film kept getting introduced with his film at festivals. So like my short would open for his feature. So that's how we met, and we immediately hit it off because like we both love the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Is like one of our favorite movies, and so we immediately we just like hit it off with our love of like same same tone, same kind of character stories that we like, same kind of like dark humor. Um,
Hmm.
and like, not to make light of like situations, but you know, there's some heavy topic in the movie, and he likes to write about heavy topics, but also keep them relatable in a way that is like digestible
Yeah.
and is very a human to relate to. So we were both like really related on that level. So he had sent me some scripts because we were like, we really want to work together on something. And he sent me like a batch of scripts he was working on. And this one, like I said, when I sat down, I was actually at the Sedona Film Festival in my hotel room, and he sent me a bunch of scripts, and that one I read all the way through, and I was just like, I love this girl. I love this film. I was just like, so I immediately, like, when I saw him the next day, I was like, I have to make this. And he was like, okay, like, go for it. If you want it, like, this will just be yours. And I was just like, I have no idea what to do next. So I was like, okay. But that's kind of how I
And
fell into it.
then you had to help get the money, raise the money then, right?
Oh yeah, I did. I mean, yeah, that I took it pretty much and
That's a
ran.
yeah, that's a pretty big job of the producer. Even if maybe you don't have all of the knowledge of contracts and dealing with the unions and things like that, just purely raising the money. I mean, that's kind of like job number one of a producer anyway. So
Yeah.
I think you're fairly qualified if you can raise the money.
Yeah, thank you. I know. Well, getting Lisa on board, Lisa Freeberg,
Oh,
who's
right,
my
Lisa
producing,
Furberg, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
partner.
she's my
Yeah.
producing partner on the film. She really came in like we couldn't have made it without her because I just being like being on set as a producer, like I said, like that was a harder role for me, and so being on set and having the ability to just like forget about everything and let her take the reins on the day to the day and all
Hmm.
the stuff that goes into it. I mean, I was really involved in pre-production. Um and even up until like the first like few days, like just like, you know, I like helped secure all the locations and helped I brought our DP on board. He was somebody who I'd worked with before, and we were kind of struggling to find like the right fit tonally. We had been
Hmm.
looking at a lot of different DPs, and Josh had something really specific in mind, Yash, who I had worked with, Yash Khanna, who was our cinematographer, he was in India, I think, at the time, like filming something, and I just happened to ask, like, I had messaged him, "Hey, are you in the United States?" He's like, "No, I'm wrapping a film," and I was like, "Oh, when do you wrap?" It was like in a couple weeks. I was like, "You want to read the script?" Like, and
Yeah.
he immediately, him and the director, just like they got on a phone call and were like two peas in a pod. Like they instantly understood each other. Yash was like, he had a whole concept of storyline told through color that he had already like envisioned, that Josh was like, that's exactly what I had in my mind. And he was just like in use of like neons and just like everything that they had talked about landscape wise, it fit. It was like the perfect fit. So that's like, as a like producing part, I like that stuff. Like I like finding the people and putting them together and being like, yeah, like this is the right fit for that, or like finding
Yeah.
the locations, like helping Mary Banker, who was our location manager, like just kind of help putting those pieces together. But once we got on actual set and we're filming,
Yeah.
I like left everything to Lisa to deal with. I was like, here you go.
Was she also acting as the unit production manager? Did she do all the contracts and the budget?
Yeah.
Was that what she was mostly doing, or one of the things she was doing
Yeah. Her and Norman Pacormi like together worked a lot on that.
on that kind of stuff? So you shot the
Yeah.
movie in Chicago.
Yeah.
Now it came out this year. So did you shoot it last year in Chicago, 2021?
No, we actually shot it in right before the pandemic.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it's been
Yeah.
a couple of years, but then of course that whole thing slows down the process to get you across the finish line.
Totally. So
Yeah.
we literally wrapped right before the shutdown. And
Oh,
the
okay.
shutdown actually I think helped us in a way because,
Hmm.
you know, everyone was not not doing anything at the time, and
Yeah.
all production pretty much had been halted. So we got kind of lucky with some of the, like Roger Neal, who's our composer. He's like an award-winning composer that I don't think like we ever probably would have got. Had
Hmm.
it not been for, he was like, oh, all my projects got canceled, or like or they all got delayed, or nobody knows.
Right.
And like same with our editor Al, like somebody that, like, these are people who were like, you know, contracted already for really larger projects, and we were able to kind of like snag him and be like, hey, you want to come help on this thing on the side?
Yeah.
So that like
Yeah.
serviced us like, yeah, but it does, I mean, it slows down the process because you're doing everything remote, like nothing could be
Right.
done. So it's
Yeah.
like they're sending stuff, you know, and then you have to download it, and then you got to watch it, and then you got to give notes, and then
Yeah.
it's like way longer process. So that definitely
Yeah.
took like a while.
It was funny because you mentioned getting it done right before the pandemic starts. I was actually shooting a movie in Joshua Tree National Park.
Really?
And yeah, and the last day we were filming was technically the first day of the shutdown. So we had gotten
Oh
there,
god.
beforehand, of course, in the Joshua Tree. Everybody was, activity was as normal. The night before they shut everything down, we had gone to a local restaurant to eat and everything. We go in the park the next day. We finish shooting. We've wrapped the show. We're leaving, and it's like a ghost town. Like everything that was open the day before is now closed. Like only thing that's open is a gas station. And it was just weird. It was like, where did everybody go?
Yeah.
But so I can kind of relate to what you're saying about that. And then, yeah, you're right. Like post was so bizarre. I mean, luckily I had worked with my editor before, so we had a relationship, but everything was done through Frame.io.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the composer. And it was just this weird process of going through post, but not actually sitting in any room with anybody. So it's
Yeah.
really bizarre. But it was good. It was a good experience to go through, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad we've gone back to some level of normalcy where we can interact face to face with people
Yeah, I agree.
and look at things together and be like, this shot's kind of weird, right? It's weird, right? We should not use this shot.
Yeah.
Things like
Yeah.
that.
It's way more efficient is
It is, yeah,
yeah.
for sure. But it certainly has heightened those skills for everybody when in that position, when that's the only way you can operate. Everybody has developed those skills now. So it's nice that we all can operate that way when needed.
Yeah, which is
So
great
that's
for
good,
sure.
which
Yeah.
is great. You had mentioned Yash Khanna, the DP. He did a beautiful job. It's very naturalistic looking. It's very grounded, like we've been talking about the story. It really supports all of that. And some beautiful shots. I don't know. One of my most favorite shots is probably a very simple shot, which was the two of you at the end of the movie just sitting on the steps with the bicycle. I don't know
Yeah.
why. That is such a pretty shot. It's just beautifully composed. The light is just so soft. There's just these beautiful muted colors. And anyway, just thought it was a really pretty movie. So,
Yash just has like a amazingly detailed, beautiful eye for composition. I like every like
yeah.
I like every I think every frame in the movie you could pause and be like, wow, like it just looks
Yeah.
yeah, like it looks so pretty. He
Yeah.
did phenomenal.
Yeah. How long does it take to shoot a movie like this? Was this 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? What is this?
It was like I think from beginning to end we had to add on some days and we took like a few days off for Thanksgiving. So but total I think like 6 weeks.
Oh, 6. Oh, wow. So you had quite a few days then.
Yeah, we had quite a few days. Yeah, we did have
Oh,
to add
wow.
someone, and like I said, like we did end up having to kind of like jump Thanksgiving and then pick back up.
Mm,
But total,
yeah.
yeah, I think I was in Chicago for like 6 weeks working on it.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah,
That's a nice, healthy schedule.
yeah.
A lot of times small independent films we got 12 days, we've got
Oh yeah.
14 days, that kind of a thing. So
We had
that's
so many
nice that you had that
location
much time.
changes that it was like it was unrealistic to try to do.
Yeah.
Company moves in Chicago, it was like a whole day. So like
Right. Yeah.
so we were like we have to. There's no way that we could do this in less than a certain
Yeah.
amount of days, just purely with the locations. And we ended up having to cut some stuff too. Like that wasn't even
Mm,
enough time. Like we could have used a whole nother week.
yeah. So as a producer, what are some of the lessons that you took away from this experience for you as you go on to maybe produce other movies?
I learned a lot. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. What were some
and
of the big lessons you learned?
you have to be flexible, especially on an indie film. Like you've got to just be able to be on the fly always because something is always going to come up. So I learned a lot from watching Lisa because Lisa's a pro and like she knows how to literally just like solve a problem. You just have to be a really good problem solver because like that's all you're doing all day is putting out fires and fixing things.
Yeah.
But still keeping the overall story in mind. Like Lisa, one of the first days of filming was the opening shot with the cityscape, and they shot it on a Sunday, and nobody had thought about the fact that all the lights of the buildings were off. So it was dark. And it was like, this is not going to work. And so
Yeah.
as like she was just like, we have to find a way to come back here. So for, I mean, you have to get now the city involved. Can we come back and shoot another day? And like our permits only for
Yeah.
this, like, and so, but she was adamant about like, this shot is crucial because it's the opening shot of the movie, and the city lights like have to be on. Like that's like, it's such a big moment.
Yeah.
And it really captures how like alone he is in such a big city. So it was like, it like has to be. So for me, it was
Right.
like, yeah, like the biggest learning experience was like being able to keep the overall goal in mind, but also being able to like problem solve and on the fly in the moment figure out how you can fix something and how you can make your day. I mean, that's like the biggest
Yeah.
thing.
As an actor, one of the lead actors, as well as a producer, did you find yourself not being able to sleep at night because you were worried about things, or were you good about things? Were you able to just lay down and go to sleep every night?
Mixed. Like the first few days, it was like really hard to take that hat off. But once,
Yeah.
I mean, like Lisa and I had a long talk after like the first couple days, and she was like, just don't worry about anything else. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, all right, you're right, you're right. So once I kind of like went into that mode.
You accepted your fate and said, "It is what it is. I'm going to sleep now."
No, I still didn't sleep like the whole time though.
Oh, okay, okay.
It
Would you
was
say
like
was the lack of sleep more the actor part of your brain or the producer part of your brain? I guess that's what my real question was.
equally,
Equally,
equally.
you shared the deficit of sleep equally between those two
Yeah,
parts.
yeah.
Had you been the lead actor, the director, and the producer, then you wouldn't have slept at all. You just would have been a zombie.
That would have been impossible. I think I was a
Yeah.
zombie for most of it, but that would have been even way worse.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned before when you meet Josh on the film festival circuit, that you were out there with a short film and you had directed and produced and had your hands in all kinds of aspects of it because it was, your personal project. Um, but you mentioned you also directed that. Do you have aspirations to direct a feature now? Is that something that you want to do?
I don't know, honestly. I
Hmm.
don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if it felt right.
Yeah. Is it because it doesn't really speak to you, or because you feel like there's things about it that you just can't grasp, or
There
you don't
like
have that skill set?
yeah, I like directing is a whole different skill set that
Hmm.
I yeah, I don't know. I would maybe if it wasn't my own, if I wasn't like acting in it. But
Hmm.
I feel like directing myself I need like an outside perspective if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I've only worked on one movie where the director was the actor, and I was the cinematographer on that, and he relied
Yeah.
on me because I was looking at him, and then also the writer who was there as one of the
That was the biggest
producers,
thing. I relied on my
kind of those extra
DP.
those extra voices.
Mhm.
So if you're
Like a
going to do that,
lot.
yeah, if you're going to do that, you need to really hire a cinematographer that you feel has some of those directing abilities in them. Not just like I make pretty pictures, but I actually understand story and editing
Yeah.
and performance and yeah.
Total 100%. Yeah.
Okay, well, on the topic of directing, and you can answer this question from two perspectives: one as an actor and one as a producer, if you'd like. Usually when I ask people this question, they're saying it from one perspective, but because you did a dual role, you maybe can ask it or answer it differently from these two positions. What makes, in your opinion, a good director?
I think a good director is somebody that can somebody that fully knows their story and has a vision but is also flexible to changes while it's
Mm-hmm.
happening. And I guess like from an actor perspective, like I said earlier, I like to have a director that kind of lets me run with it, but like can steer you kind of subliminally, without making you feel like judged or like you did something like wrong, um, but let you still try things. And then like the producer side of me is like, yeah, it's got to be somebody like Josh was so flexible because like yeah, like we were literally having to like rewrite scenes based off of like locations that we fell through or because of like a day that we lost or whatever. And so I think like being a director, you have to be able to do so much and be so flexible it
Yeah,
like
yeah.
with your story, with your vision, with everything. So
It's funny. It's fun. It's funny how what makes a good director, depending on who you're asking, what it is that they're looking at that director for, like what skills they want to see in that director. Like you mentioned with a producer, you want a director who's flexible. Hey, we're running into a weather issue, we're running into a location issue. We have to adapt. Can you pivot and
Yeah,
still, get a
tell
scene
the
here,
story.
even though it's not the way it was written, right? And also, a lot of producers will tell you one of their top priorities for a director is a director who can make their day, who
Yeah,
isn't going to take us into overtime. Because bottom line is the producers are responsible for the budget, and they don't want overtime, you know. And then
that's true.
an actor it varies with all the actors I ask, but yeah, you mentioned the ability of collaboration, but at the same time also knowing and being assertive and knowing what they want, right? That balance. So yeah, those are great qualities in a director. I think that was a great answer for that. So
Yeah.
well, it's been great to talk to you.
Yeah, you
um,
too.
if people want to see this movie Alex in October, it's out now.
It's out now. It's streaming now
Where
on
can they find
all.
it?
Yeah, it's on all the video on demand platforms. For the next few days, it'll be, what is it, the 29th? For the next couple
Hmm.
days, it's still on demand. So if you have like cable pay per view on demand, you can watch it from your TV, and then it's also on Amazon Prime, iTunes, Apple TV, all the big streaming platforms. So if you go to alexoctobermovie.com, it has all the info of where you can stream it and watch it, and
Awesome.
all that.
For you, now that you've got this movie in the bag, what's next? What are you excited to do? What are you looking for? What would you like to play? Like, where do you go from here?
I have a couple scripts that I'm looking at right now that Lisa and I are actually
Okay,
looking at teaming up again on doing another feature.
that's great.
Yeah, so doing that, I actually have an audition today for an HBO show. So
Well,
just,
I hope
yeah.
that goes well for you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm kind of open right now. I'd like to try something different, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah,
than October's character. Maybe a
yeah.
comedy would be fun.
Well, you actually are quite funny in this movie.
Yeah,
I
thank
know
you.
I know it's very subtle and I know it's dark, but you can certainly see that you have those that skill set. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think if you want to go with a more crazy comedy, I think you'd knock it out of the park for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess my last question, Tara, is just where can people find you on social media so they can see what shenanigans you've been up to?
I am on Instagram mainly.
And what is
So
that?
it's just Tara_Shayne. Just at Tara_Shayne. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sending you good film vibes. I'm excited to see
Thank
what the
you.
next film that you do is. And hopefully at some point we will be on the film festival circuit together.
Yeah,
So
that'd
we
be
can
awesome.
be on some weird panel together and talk about what it's like to be producers or whatever that might be. So
Yeah, I would love that.